Okay, I am McKinley. Again, we are going to do a mock disaster. Basically, we're outside. There's been a car wreck or a tornado or something, and we have a person with a broken leg. So I'm going to do a run through about. It's going to be just about what would happen, but of course I'm not going to go into too much detail because we have limited time. So we're going to start over here. First thing you do is you set up. In order to save someone, you have to have the equipment you need. So you always keep your backpack on you, but you set the blanket up. So, and then after you have the blanket up, you go search for victims if it's safe. The thing is, if it's not safe, don't go. We have one victim. We don't need two. So then you go. When you find your victim, you take your radio out. You call it in. And depending on where you are and what team you're in, it'll be different codes because of the local area or state. So once you find them, you call it in. Then you tell them if they're walking, if they're delayed, or if they're immediate, or if they're dead. And because of what she has a compound fracture in her leg. She's immediate. And because of where it is, it would be an arterial bleed, but of course, she's not actually dying. So then I go over to her and see if she's responding to me. I say my name, that I'm part of CERT, not first responders, because those are completely different. And then if she can respond, then I have to ask her to treat her before I can move her. But if she's unconscious, then that's an immediate green light, as I say it, to help her. So, okay. Hello, Miss. I'm McKinley Ingstrom. I'm part of the CERT team. Is it okay if I help you? Yes. Okay. So then, so it's harder when it's on the leg than the arm because they can't walk. So what you do, you have her put her arm over your shoulder, lift her up with your legs, not with your arms, because otherwise you'll break your back. And because she has a broken leg, half of her body weight is on you. So then, if you have another person, she'll put her arm around them. But until then, but if you're by yourself, then you have them lay down on the immediate blanket because, well, she's dying. As soon as she lays down, you call for help. You have to bring them to the blanket first before you call help because they have to know where you are. And usually, when you're in an emergency, the ambulances, they already know where this is. So if you can move them, you move them here before calling for help. Then, you get your equipment out. And that's also depending on the emergency. You should have wipes, log sheets of any sort, logbook. Your basically mini manual in case you're in a panic and you forget. Your CPR mask in case they need it. A tourniquet, that's really important. The gauze and the wrap to put around the gauze. And you need gloves. This is really important because if they have HIV or another bodily fluid or bloodborne disease, if you touch them and you're not wearing gloves, you're infected. So then, the entire time you're working, you're constantly looking at her, making sure she's still conscious. So, for a leg like this, you do not touch the bone. If you push it in or pull it out even more, you're gonna kill her. So you do not touch the bone. What you do is, if it's not gonna affect anything, you wipe around the wound for infection reasons. Then you get the gauze. You carefully stick on here. You do not want to hurt. They're gonna wince a little bit because you are touching a hurting spot. But if you have someone else with you, you have them hold it. If not, you're gonna have to do this with one hand. You take the gauze and you wrap it around their leg. Like that. And then you take the tourniquet and you attach it above. You don't put it on because not only is that going to hurt, move the bone, it's not going to do anything because you have to stop the bleeding before it gets to there. You put this on, you slip it in its fastening thing. You pull it as tight as you can. You have to pull it really tight because you have to, basically you're cutting off her circulation in order to save her. It's better to lose a leg than to die. You twist this as tight as you can, and then you strap it into this part right here. There's a little there should be a little white tag to hold it. Then, if you have sheets, you record it on here. You record everything on here. If not, you have to record. You take a marker and you record when it was put on. So I have to be very careful. I put SAT 25th. Then I put 125. p.m. It's important for the first responders when they arrive to know what it was put on because that kind of determines what medicine they put in her. If they get here and she's been bleeding for a longer time, they'll put stronger medicine in her than if she was here only for a short time. Then, more likely than not, they will be in shock, but you should also check for that. If they're quiet like this, they're most likely in shock. That's when you get a thermal blanket. You don't want her to sit up because of her leg. If she was hurt in her arm, for example, that would be different. Then you have to sit up. But you have to get a thermal blanket because they're in shock. They're losing body heat rather quickly. So you have to keep the body heat in. You cover her, except for where the bandage is. You leave that kind of open so that way when the first responders come, they know exactly what they need to go to. And, well, then you may, if someone else is here, you should always have 2 people. 3, but if you have 3, which is even more wanted, you have them stay with the patient, and you and your buddy go to look for more. And yeah, that's it. We have one more.